Good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Today is a great day. First of all, you don't have to eat. You don't have to eat. You have so much more time. You don't have to prepare the food. You don't have to eat the food. You don't have to deal with it. It's a great day. You have so much to do today. You have to think about rebuilding the Beit Mikdash. So the first step of rebuilding the Beit Mikdash is right here in our shul, Kehillah Sferas Mordechai. We launched our annual campaign, and it's going live in 2 weeks, during the 9 days. This is the first time we're doing it during the 9 days, because during the 9 days, we're working on rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash. We know that every Beis HaKnesses that is safeguarded, the Kedusha, will one day be part of the Beit HaMikdash. So right here in our shul, we are starting to rebuild the Beit HaMikdash. So you say, what could I do? I knew you were going to ask that question. I'm going to let you know what you could do. You could set up a team page. That's the best thing you could do. Because even if you don't plan on sending it to your cousins and your friends, you're not the fundraising kind of guy, but they might see it. You see, you don't even have to go out of your comfort zone. Even though, by the way, in life, it's good to go out of your comfort zone. You're not getting anywhere unless you get out of your comfort zone. That's a general principle. You know, that's what the Chachamim say. Maxwell and, you know, you got to get out of your comfort zone. But even if you don't want to get out of your comfort zone, if you just set up a team page, whether you're in the Beit HaKnesses, let's say you're listening in Lakewood, you're listening in Muncie, you're listening in Tom's River, you're listening in Switzerland, you're listening in Brazil, and you want to be mechazek the Limud HaTorah, please set up a team page. It's really mechazek us. Or if you want to participate in any capacity, you could take a chelek in building our Beis Medrash and thereby building the Beis HaMikdash. So for the 3 weeks, get your book, The Darkness and the Dawn. But I have really good news, because you see this poster, brand new poster. It says, they put it out Friday. So it says coming next week, which means this week. You see, Yaakov, these were the colors. See? It really would have looked really good. This color, the beige, yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's coming this week. Sefer Tzipisa Liyeshua, Be'ezras Hashem, from the Chavetz Chaim. It says, translated, elucidated with stirring essays. If it says stirring, then it's going to stir you. That's if it says it. It says it's going to stir you. Okay, you could order it now. You could pre-order it at artscroll.com. It will be available this week. I want to share with you something very important, not only for the 3 weeks, but really for the entire year. The Kloisenberg Rebbe would teach, he would quote the Sifrei Chasidus, that the Shabbosos of the 3 weeks are the greatest Shabbosos of the year, because since the 3 weeks are it's a time of Churban and Din, and you need to overcome the Midas HaDin, so the power of the Shabbos during this time of the year must be extra powerful. All of Klal Yisrael, practically speaking, greets the Shabbos for the last 450 years with something called Kabbalah Shabbos, with the piyut written by Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, L'chadoidi, L'kras Kala, Pnei Shabbos, Kabbalah. You should be familiar with this. And the problem is, if you look through this beautiful piyut that spells out in an acrostic, L'shloimai Chazak, right, L'shloimai Halevi, L'shloimai Halevi, it actually pretty much has nothing to do with Shabbos. The first 3 stanzas, right, there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stanzas. How many of them would you think were about Shabbos? You would think all 10 are about Shabbos. Almost none of them. Only the ones that maybe you're actually awake for are about Shabbos. So, L'chadoidi, L'kras Kala, Pnei Shabbos, Kabbalah, Shamar v'Zachar b'dibur echad, L'kras Shabbos, L'chuven elcha. And then you start stirring. You hear other people around you starting to get up. You have the guys that get up for Yom V'Hayolam Shisa. You have guys getting up for Yom Small. You have guys getting up, but you're starting to hear movement. So you're looking around. You don't want to be the only guy sitting. So you stand up, Boi v'Shalom, and you greet the Shabbos. The thing is, the 6 stanzas in middle have absolutely nothing to do with Shabbos. You ever notice that? Mikdash Melech, Ir Melucha, Kumi Tzimi Techafecha. We're talking about the Beis Hamikdash. We're saying, Hashem, raise up the Beis Hamikdash from the ashes, from the mound of rubble, from the destruction. Hisnari me'afar kumi, shake off from the dust, arise. Through who? Al Yad ben Yishai, through the Malchus Beis David. Then we say, Hisoyuri, Hisoyuri, awaken, awaken. Uri, Uri, wake up, wake up. Does anybody know what the expression Uri, Uri refers to?
Yeshiyahu?
Yeah, Uri, Uri. Who said those words? Uri, Uri, Sher Daberi. That's from Shiras Devaira. Uri, Uri, Devaira. Uri, Uri, Dabri Shir. You know what that means? Devaira is talking to herself, and Devaira is saying, wake up, Devaira, meaning she's stirring herself to prophesy. So all of a sudden, in the middle of Kabbalah Shabbos, we're asking Hashem to rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. We're asking Hashem to restore the Malchus Beis David. We're asking Hashem to restore Nevuah. We're asking Hashem, we want to be Nevi'im. Then we say, the city of Yerushalayim should not be ashamed, should not be embarrassed. Lo yisei voishi, v'lo yisi kolmi. What does that have to do with Shabbos? Then we say, Yamin usmal tifroitzi, Yerushalayim, expand, expand. By the way, Chazal say, Asad Yerushalayim lehisrachev ad Damesak. We're seeing that in our own time. The influence of Yerushalayim is expanding all the way to Syria. Could somebody tell me, what does this have to do with Kabbalah Shabbos? We're turning our attention, we've come to Shul now. It says in the Art Scroll Siddur, Kabbalah's Shabbos. That's what it says. And if it says in the Art Scroll Siddur, Kabbalah Shabbos, then we're supposed to be doing that. The only thing is, we're not doing that. We're not being Makabel Shabbos. We're asking Hashem to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. We're asking Hashem to restore Nevuah. We're asking Hashem to expand Yerushalayim. So I know what you're thinking. You said, I know this year already. No. I've revolutionary material I just thought of, okay? I just have to tell you the introduction first. So Rav Moshe Shapiro, brought in the Sefer Shuvi V'Nechzeh, has a life-changing breakthrough, and that is, the first thing you need to know is that anybody know what day of the week was the Beis HaMikdash destroyed? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? There are only 7 choices. There are only 7 days, right? Actually, there's an 8th choice. The Gemara says in Tainis Chav Tesam and Aleph, the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed on Matzoi Shabbos, V'chein B'shniya, and the second Beis HaMikdash. Did you know the first and second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed on a Saturday night? Why? Says the Maharal, great things are never coincidental. Why was the Beis HaMikdash destroyed on Matzoi Shabbos? Says the Maharal, you see, so long as you're headed toward Shabbos, there could be no destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. As long as you're moving toward Shabbos, the Beis HaMikdash cannot be destroyed. The thing is, we're always moving toward Shabbos. Hayom Yom Rishon b'Shabbos, Hayom Sheni b'Shabbos, Hayom Shishi b'Shabbos. No, there's one juncture of time that you're not headed to Shabbos, you're actually moving away from Shabbos, and that is Matzai Shabbos. Therefore, Shabbos, the Maharal seems to be saying, which is synonymous with the Beis HaMikdash, when you're moving toward Shabbos, you cannot have Churban. Therefore, the only possibility for Churban is Matzai Shabbos. You got it? Saturday night's the only time that the Beis HaMikdash could be destroyed. Let's explain this a little further. There's a concept in Kabbalistic thought called Ashan, Olam Shana Nefesh, where places in the world are parallel to times. You got that? There are times that parallel places. So what the Beis HaMikdash is in place, Shabbos is in time. And what Shabbos is in time, the Beis HaMikdash is in place. In other words, Shabbos is the Beis HaMikdash of the week. The Beis HaMikdash is the Shabbos of the world. That is why Friday night, instead of saying, we say Baruch Atah Hashem, Ha-Poirei Sukkah Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Amo Yisrael V'al Yerushalayim. Why are we mentioning Yerushalayim Friday night? The answer is because we are now in the realm of Yerushalayim. No, we're not. We're in Shabbos. No, Shabbos is synonymous with Yerushalayim. So as you're headed toward Shabbos and you're headed toward the Beis HaMikdash, there can be no Churban. You can only have Churban when you're moving away from Shabbos. In a nutshell, did you notice that almost every time the Torah speaks about the subject of the Mishkan in the Chumash, Immediately juxtaposed to that is Shabbos. Shabbos is always mentioned in the context of the Beis HaMikdash. Parshas Kisisa, it says, build the Beis HaMikdash. Oh, Aches Shabsosai Tishmeiru. Or in Parshas Vayakel, it talks about building the Beis HaMikdash, and it says, Sheshes Yom Te'aseh Malacha V'yom HaShvi. Why Shabbos and the Mikdash are synonymous? By the way, the Rambam says, the same way, did you know that it's not enough to believe in Mashiach? You also have to eagerly anticipate his arrival. If you don't eagerly anticipate his arrival, the Rambam says you're a kaifer. Likewise, you also have to eagerly anticipate the arrival of Shabbos. Right? We've said many times over the years, Shomer Shabbos. Shomer means not only to watch and observe, it means to wait for the Shabbos. Like the Aviv, Shamar, Es Hadavar. So, just like there's a mitzvah of tzipisa li-Yeshua, there's a mitzvah of tzipisa li-Shabbos. And it's interesting, in chapter 73 of Tehillim, if you look at number 8, which is the chapter about David HaMelech entering the Beis HaMikdash, in that chapter, David HaMelech poses the age-old question, Tzadik v'raloi, the suffering of the righteous. David HaMelech says, I endeavor to understand why the righteous suffer, and he couldn't understand it when Aravay al Mikdash Kel, until I entered the Beis HaMikdash, and then I had no more questions. Likewise, Parak 92, Tzadi Beis, Mizmar Shel Yom HaShabbos, in the context of Shabbos, David HaMelech says, Ish bar lo yedach, sil lo yevin azois, a fool can't understand b'frayach risham k'ma Yosef, why the wicked prosper. But in the context of Shabbos, we could understand that's lihishamdam adayad. It's in order to destroy them forever. There are many, many parallels between Shabbos and the Beis HaMikdash. Therefore, says Rav Moshe Shapiro, we know that after 120, a Jew is going to be asked, did you await the coming of Mashiach? Were you mitzapeh liyeshua? Or you just lived your life and you said, let me know when he comes? No, that's not enough. A Jew has to actively await the coming of Mashiach. When should we fulfill the great area of Avodas Hashem of actively awaiting Mashiach? The answer is, there is a piyut that was composed for us to fulfill the great value of awaiting the coming of Mashiach, and that is Kabbalah Shabbos. Because part of being Makabel Shabbos and awaiting Shabbos is awaiting the coming of Mashiach. So in L'chadoidi, the majority of it is an expression of our pining and yearning for Mashiach. In other words, halacha l'maisa. After 120, they say, Rabbi Yid, did you actively await the coming of Mashiach? You say, yeah. When? What do you mean? Friday night. I said Kabbalah Shabbos. Were you thinking about the meaning of the words? Yeah, of course. What did you have in mind? So you're going to say, well, the first 3 stanzas, I was saying, Rebbeinu Shalom, we're anticipating the coming of the Shabbos. We're praising you that you gave us Shabbos b'dibur echad. And we're saying we're headed toward the Shabbos because Shabbos is the source of all blessing. But then we turned to you, Hashem, we said, Mikdash Melech, sanctuary of the king. Ir Melucha, royal city. Kumi tzi'i mitoicha hafecha, rise up, emerge from the rubble. We say, Rebbeinu Shalom, please rebuild the temple. Every Friday night I asked you, remember? Yeah, you did it. You did it every Friday night. You were mitzapeh for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. So why are we asking for the restoration of the Malchus Beis David? Why are we asking for the restoration of prophecy? Why are we asking for Yerushalayim to expand? Because we lost a lot of goodies when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. When the temple was destroyed, we lost the Malchus Beis David. So we're saying, Hashem, in the context of you rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash, while you're at it, Al Yad ben Yishai Beis HaLachmi, please restore the Davidic dynasty. Furthermore, we know the Gemara says, Miyom shechar Beis HaMikdash nitla nevua min hanaviyim v'nitla lechachamim. So the Gemara says, really? It was given to the chachamim? The Gemara says, no, it was given to, it was taken away from the prophets, but it wasn't necessarily taken away from the chachamim, or was given to the fools. That we definitely see. So that means through the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, prophecy was taken away. So we say, Rebbeinu Shalom, Uri, Shir Daberi, return to us the institution of prophecy. And then we say, Rebbeinu Shalom, Yerushalayim is so minimalized today. Please expand the perimeters of Yerushalayim, like the pasuk says. Kai Amar Hashem Yirmiyah Perek Lamed Pasuk Yudches Hineni Shav Shavus Al Yaakov Mishkanaisav Arachem V'Nivnesa Ir Al Tila. The city will be built on the mountain. So we're asking Hashem V'Nivnesa Ir Al Tila. Please rebuild the city. The Navi tells us that today Yerushalayim is ashamed. Al teri kiloi sevoi shivi al tikami kiloi sachbi. We say, Hashem, please bring Yerushalayim honor and prestige. But most importantly, we ask Hashem to expand the borders of Yerushalayim, like it says in Yirmiyah, in Yeshaya, Perek Nun Daled, Harchivi mekayma halech v'riyahis mishkanai sayech yatu al tachsoichi. Then we say, look at number 26, Ki aminu smile tifroitzi. So we say, Yaminu smile tifroitzi. Yes, Hashem. We say, Hashem, expand Yerushalayim. This you all know already. You know this year, right? You heard this one before? Yeah. So I want to just add a few very important points to it. The reason we're asking Hashem in the context of Kabbalah Shabbos to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash is because Shabbos and the Beis HaMikdash is synonymous, right? You understand that idea? That there are places in the world that correspond to times of the year. So it just struck me this Friday night when I was saying Kabbalah Shabbos, because sometimes I say to myself, you gave the shiur, at least try to, you should also think about, So I was trying to think about being mitzapeh Yeshua during Kabbalah Shabbos. And it struck me, if Shabbos, you ready for this? If Shabbos and the Beis HaMikdash are synonymous, doesn't that mean that all the aspects of the Beis HaMikdash should have a parallel in Shabbos? Which means, you ready? That the Malchus Beis David has to be somehow reflected in Shabbos. And Nevuah has to be reflected in Shabbos. And the expansion of Yerushalayim has to be reflected in Shabbos. Because we are asking for all these things on Shabbos. So I do think that there is an aspect of Malchus Beis David that is reflected in Shabbos itself. There is a concept, and it has to be elaborated upon further. However, I just want to bring out the point. Don't we say in Shemona Esrei on Shabbos day, Yismechu v'malchuscha, rejoice in your kingdom, Shoimrei Shabbos. There's an aspect of Malchus in Shabbos. There's an aspect of Malchus in Shabbos. I would suggest the aspect of Malchus in Shabbos is a parallel to the aspect of the Malchus Beis David, which is linked to the Beis HaMikdash. By the way, the Brisker Rav asks, why do we have two different brachos for Malchus Beis David and Shemona Esrei? V'ilu shalayim we say, v'chisei David mehera l'seicha tachin. And then the next bracha, es tzemach David. Why in the world do we have two brachos for the Malchus Beis David? So, the Brisker Rav says that one element of Malchus Beis David is needed for Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim does not have a din of Yerushalayim without the Malchus Beis David. There's something missing about Yerushalayim without the Malchus Beis David. And then we're asking, aside from the element of Malchus Beis David, which is needed for Yerushalayim, we need it inherently, as Semach David Avdecha Mehiras Atzmiach. But the aspect of Malchus Beis David, which is a principle of Yerushalayim and the Mikdash, is reflected in Shabbos itself. There's an aspect of Malchus in Shabbos. In fact, I found last night, okay, you ready for this? There is a Kabbalistic Zemer that was composed by Reb Tzvi Hersh ben Reb Shlomo Zalman, the father of Rabbi Cheskel of Kashmir, about the 10 spheroids that are somehow reflected in Shabbos. So he has a line in the Zemer, Kadosh Hashmiyanu B'Koil Revi'i Zachar V'Shamar. What is the fourth commandment of the 10 commandments? Anoichi, Lo Yiyelecha, Lo Yisisa, Zachar Yom Shabbos Akadshai. Somehow, what's the significance of the fact that Shabbos is the fourth statement of the 10 commandments? He asked, Ma nafka minam, Zachar v'Shamar is Revi, or a different number. What else is Revi'i? David is Revi'i. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David. We know that David holds up the Kisei HaKavod. Why? Because a chair of 3 legs is wobbly. David gives stability to the Kisei HaKavod. Shabbos also gives stability to the Kisei HaKavod. Don't we say in davening, Lakel asher Shavas bayom hashvi, Lakel asher Shavas mikol hamasim, bayom hashvi yisal v'yoshav al Kisei kivoidai. You know that song? MBD? Yeah? You listen to MBD? Not in the 3 weeks. Yeah. So Shabbos is also Kisei HaKavod. So there's an element of the Malchus based David that's reflected in Shabbos. So it's not just randomly, oh, it's Friday night. Shabbos is parallel to the Mikdash. So we're going to ask for the Mikdash and everything related to the Mikdash. No, there's an element, the element of the Mikdash of Malchus based David is reflected in Shabbos itself. Okay? What about the expansion of Yerushalayim? Does that have a parallel concept in Shabbos? Of course. Very good, Rabasi. Tois for Shabbos. Just like Yerushalayim expands, Yamin Usmail, Shabbos also expands. Well, you think Shabbos starts, oh, what time is Shkia? Shkia today is 8:25. So yeah, yesterday was 8:25. Oh, so when does Shabbos start? 8:25. No. You know, according to that, Arizal says Shabbos is 31 hours. But even if you don't keep 31 hours, it's not exactly 24 hours. You started a little bit earlier, right? You let it go a little bit later. Over here, even though we call Maariv for 50, you're not getting home till 72. It's not possible, right? If you daven here, you're for sure getting 72. And that's very good. Rabbi Moshe says that Me'ikar Hadin, Shabbos is over at 50 minutes, and a Ben Torah should try to keep 72. So you're expanding the Shabbat. I think it's a very nice idea. The expansion of Yerushalayim is reflected in the concept of Tosefes Shabbos. And what about the idea of Nevuah? The element of Nevuah that's connected to Yerushalayim, is that also reflected in Shabbos? You know, the what?
Torah.
Oh, the reading of the Haftarah. David says that the reason we read the Nevi'im on Shabbos is because there's an element of Nevuah. I like that. There's an element of Nevuah on Shabbos. Very good. I was going to say that the Mishnah Berurah brings down that the Sifrei Kabbalah say you should always try to learn something new on Shabbos. You should have try to gain new insight on Shabbos, because through the Neshama Yisera, you could elevate yourself to new comprehension. So to speak, there's an element of divine inspiration as part of Shabbos, perhaps that corresponds to the Nevuah that it connects to the Beis HaMikdash. So every Friday night, when you say Kabbalah Shabbos, it is a monumental opportunity not only to eagerly anticipate the Shabbos, but also to eagerly anticipate the Mikdash. And the Mikdash the Shabbos parallels all the aspects of the Beis HaMikdash. Shabbos itself is the Mikdash of time, and we're just pointing out that there's an element of Malchus Beis David in Shabbos, which in the brachas of the Haftarah we definitely emphasize the Malchus Beis David. Samecheinu Hashem Elokeinu b'Elyonav Malchus Beis David Mashiach b'mheira yavai. So there's an element of Malchus Beis David, Yismachu b'Malchuscha. Shabbos is the fourth of the Aseres HaDibros. It solidifies the Kisei HaKavod. There's an inyan of expansion of Shabbos parallel to the expansion of Yerushalayim. And there's also an idea of divine inspiration on Shabbos that corresponds to Nevuah. So Moshe Shapiro says, Halacha ulamaisa. L'chadoidi is, so to speak, the designated time that we could fulfill the great ideal of awaiting all the great goodies that were lost when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. And especially this time of the year, when we're ba'avelos over Churban Beis HaMikdash and all the great gifts of antiquity, be'ezus Hashem, we hope this year will be the year. Like we say in the Kinnis, every year we say this year will be the year, but this year will really be the year that Hashem restores to Klal Yisrael all of the glory of the Mikdash and of the Torah and of Yisrael and all of the hiskarvus that we once enjoyed with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Have an easy fast, everyone. Have a great day. Kol Tov.